Okay, so good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from around the world today. We are going to go ahead and get started with today's session because we do have a full hour of content for everyone. Before we begin, a huge thank you to everyone who's joined us and has given us an hour out of their busy schedule. We completely understand that everyone has school or jobs going on, so again, thank you very much for giving us an hour of your time. If you are watching this recording at a later date, thank you for your interest in considering a networking job with Tradit Technologies, and we hope you learn a lot of information about the company Tradit Technologies today. Just a few things before I pass the floor over to my colleague Daesil. As we are going along in today's session, please use the Q&A panel to submit any questions that you have about Tradit Technologies company or anything else that our presenters are showing you today. If at any point you lose audio or you cannot see the slides, in fact, that just prompted me, Daesil, I'm going to take the ball back. So you should be able to see the slide up on the screen right now that says, welcome to the Tradit Technologies webinar. Again, if at any point in today's session you lose the slides or your audio, please use the chat panel to communicate with me privately, and I will do my very best to get you back up and running as quickly as possible. We are recording, so a link to the recording and a PDF version of the slides will be sent out to all registered attendees. It will also be shared on the Employer Showcase webinar series blog. And as soon as John and Daesil get started today, I will share that link in the chat window so it's easy for everyone to go and grab and use at a later use. At the end of today's session, you actually have to exit out of the WebEx environment for it to pop up, but if you could please just it should only take about 30 seconds to a minute. It's about 6 questions. A lot of them are drop-down option answers, so it shouldn't take long at all. Daesil and I would really appreciate your feedback on today's webinar. So with that, I would like to first introduce my colleague Daesil Gandhi on the call. She should look very familiar to most of you. She joins me for a lot of these sessions. She is a superhero of content for NetAcad for career content. And so with that, Daesil, the floor is all yours, and I will pass you the ball.
Thank you. That's, I think, the first time I've ever been referred to as a superhero. So, wow. Thank you, Karen. I'm happy to be here. Like always, from the Talent Bridge team, we're really excited to be able to bring you career content and career advice to help you become more employable and get hooked up with a job or job opportunities wherever you might be in the world, or if you have to travel to get to those opportunities. Whatever we can do to help you, we are here for you. So today we have our partner, Tradit Technologies, joining us, and they've been a pretty integral part of our of working with NetAcad for a few years now. As you can see, we have 2 folks from their team joining us today, and one of them is actually a former NetAcad, and we've asked him to come share his experiences because we thought it might be interesting for you guys to hear from a NetAcad and what he thinks about Tradit Technologies and exciting work that he gets to do with that company. But before we jump into Tradit Technologies, a real quick note. With Talent Bridge, we're trying to connect you, the talent, the few, with job opportunities with our featured employers like Tradit Technologies. And we have a lot of different ways that we're doing this. We're doing it through the matching engine, and we're also doing it through our alumni network, which is on LinkedIn. And then we also have a career preparation course. We have the Dream Team opportunities. We have a lot of career advice for you on netacad.com. So make sure you sync up with us so you can make sure you're getting the most of what we have to offer to you. And because we know that you want to take your Cisco Networking Academy education and get certified and land a job with using all the skills that you've mastered, and we know there are a lot of companies interested in hiring you. So with that being said, let's hear more about the technologies that Tradit Technologies is using and how they are unique from other companies you may have heard about, or and why you should consider working with them or interning with them for one of their smaller projects that they have. We have John Gridley joining us today. He's the Director for Strategy and Special Projects. That's the job title, but he wears a lot of hats, does a lot of different things, and as you'll find out, he's got a lot of amazing experiences with the company and has a lot of fun projects for you to hear about. And we have Yuri Vidal also joining us, and John will give a little bit more of an introduction about him when it's time to hear more from him. But John, I'm going to go ahead and pass you the ball, and it's all yours.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. This is an awesome honor for me and for Yuri and our company, Tradit Technologies. And Daesil and Kara, thank you so much for allowing us to have this platform to talk to the students. Just seeing their Q&A and where they're calling in from today makes my day. And I have to say, this is the best part of my job and the most rewarding part. The NetAcad program is a special place in my heart, as I know it does for Yuri. It's a really way that we connect our company to future talent and people that will work with us on our projects. And it's a great life-changing story for me and for all of the people that we interact with. And so it's my honor to be on this call with you guys. And like I said, it's what gets me out of bed every day. We have some cool projects. We have a lot of adventures in our projects, but really connecting with real people and connecting them to real world opportunities is what we're all about. So we'll jump into that. But I think one of the coolest things about this is for us is, as the title said of this, presentation, it's kind of cool because we get to kind of share the whole new world of Cisco network engineering with you. Because I think a lot of you guys on the call, are students, and you're thinking maybe there's a very tight box of what you're actually learning in school and where you can apply it. But I'm going to kind of blow your mind, I'm sure Yuri will as well, in how we do what we do. We don't work in a data center. We don't work in an office environment. We deploy specialized temporary networks. And so a lot of you guys probably can't even wrap your brain around what that actually means. And so that's what my goal today is, to talk through that and go through my slide deck and talk a little bit about what we do and just give you guys a mind-opening opportunity to specialize network environments and how you can do that in an event environment, outdoors, indoors, augment networks, and some things that you're learning in school and how that applies in a different fashion with what we do. So our company is called Tradit Technologies. We're straight up in how we approach projects, how we tackle things for our clients, and how we approach what we're doing. And we're straight up in our pricing and how we're going to roll out things logistically. It's kind of an old school term, but it really applies to how we work. There's obviously some folks in our space that do what we do, but we are an agency that handles things from concept to completion for our clients. And so our clients come with specialized network needs, and then we try to address those. And that's kind of us in a nutshell. Our company was started in 2004. We started under the veil of product placement. So whenever you guys are watching movies and television shows, you'll see Cisco in shows like Billions, Succession. If you guys saw the movie, The Martian, where Matt Damon was talking to a video screen, that was Cisco Telepresence, and we deployed that. So anytime you see a Cisco product, it's usually us doing that. And that's actually wiring up those type of environments to make sure that they work in a movie set, and they can actually call from the voice over IP phones to the one on the other side of the set. So it's kind of a cool way to get a start into what we did. So from there, we started to do more deployments in sports and entertainment, and started doing some outdoor activities like the Open. And Yuri can probably talk to that a little bit more than I can, because he's actually working it in the middle of this job that he's on right now. So, it's a really cool. So when I say specialized environments, we're talking about, meeting our clients and talking through what their needs are. And that can be an outdoor event. It could be a concert. It could be a golf tournament. It could be a convention center that needs network. It could be a warehouse in the middle of nowhere that needs network, or something that isn't typically an environment where you'd hold an event, but they have an ISP that's delivered there, and they have a network and a wireless, support structure that they need done, and that's something that we specialize in. So when I say specialized environments, pretty much everything we do is specialized, correct? So, I mean, it's inherent to what we do. So some of our clients, are very interesting. We actually work with Cisco a lot. Cisco obviously deploys us for their product placement, but then we do things for them like the NBA house in Rio and some cool projects. I just got back from one this week with Cisco where we did deployment of WebEx integrations with the media. And so the media from remote outlets was calling in from around the world to Pebble Beach in Carmel, California. And they were actually interacting with the golfers playing that golf tournament this past week. So that was a really cool integration and very specialized to what Cisco does and how we do it for them. So I think it's really neat to see just the different clients that we have. Obviously, Google is one of our big clients. And when you see Google, you know it's legit. You know that what we do is on a large scale. You know, and what's cool about Google, they'll do product launches. So some of their phones, some of their you know, key rollouts of some of their products, some of their Google Home products we've done. And so you'll set up a Keynote backbone for that and be able to have a network dedicated just to the demonstration of their devices. And then you'll have a Wi-Fi network for the audience in the crowd. We also do Salesforce, and I won't get too far into all of these different clients, but I'm just going to give you a quick overview of some of them. Salesforce is an interesting one for us. So when I say we do specialized network deployments, Salesforce is one that we do from very small to very large. I'll just kind of give you a quick snapshot. So we'll do 10 people dinners with the Salesforce CEO, Mark Benioff, where he'll roll out a demo product or something at a steakhouse in a particular market where Salesforce has, you know, clients that have spent millions of dollars with them developing products and using their Salesforce platform. So he'll conduct a meeting over dinner, show off some things, and we'll actually be the network backbone, show off a presentation, and set that up. So that's just 10, 20 people sometimes. Then we get to the larger scale events where it may be a couple hundred to a few thousand, and those are the Salesforce World Tours. And that's where they take their product and go to big markets, Toronto, Chicago, New York, Paris, London, and they basically take their show on the road, and we set that up. So that's 3,000 or 4,000 high-profile clients of theirs using the network that they're on. So, you know, just to give you guys a bigger picture of what we do, I mean, just think about the device that you have in your hand or when you're out and about. When you pull out your phone and it doesn't work in a crowded environment, that's really what we're trying to solve. And especially in these conference environments with technology clients where you're wanting to connect and you need those networks and their technology is based on it. A lot of these clients you see on this slide, you know, their technology is cloud-based. If they can't connect to it, you can't connect to it at their conference, then that's a failure that they can't accept. So network, in how we're talking about it today, is a utility. It's as important to our clients as breathing air. When they show up on site, it's water, food, and network. You know, that's what they need. If they don't have those three things, they can't do their jobs. And so we go to sites and do surveys for all of these folks, like Yuri is on site today in Barcelona, Spain. And we go to these sites where these events are going to be to conduct a network survey. Is the network capable of handling what they're trying to accomplish with their event? And then give them the good, the bad, the ugly of that to them to say, hey, this venue is great. You know, we're going to manage it and we're going to help you guys pull off an amazing event, and the infrastructure is here. Okay, unfortunately, this venue may not be up to speed. What are we going to do about it? What type of budget do we have? And then we start to have real conversations with the client and say, hey, let's bring in an augmentation. Let's make your Keynote deployment amazing so that 15,000 people can have a connected experience. When we do these type of events, you can assume that 2.5 devices are with someone that's attending. So it's your mobile phone, it's your laptop, and or a tablet or something like that. And all 3 devices may be connected, or 2.5 of them at one time, you know. So it's important that these connections and the user experience is amazing. We do this for filmmakers like Michael Bay and Jerry Bruckheimer, where they also do use Cisco's technologies through telepresence and WebEx, and they basically can edit movies in different locations. You know, we also do some venue consultation and oversee the Oracle Arena where the Golden State Warriors play. We do some great technology clients like Adobe, where they upload and download amazing files of video and photos at these live conferences and have these amazing expos where people are creating art and downloading it through the cloud over a network that we've provided. So imagine the backbone that's needed for that and the bandwidth constraints that you have, and you're pushing a lot of data over those type of events. So we'll continue on, and then what I really want to do is make this more interactive and get through these slides and then really get to Yuri and your questions and answers, because I think it's exciting what we do. But again, like I said, concept to completion, project management, strategy, we oversee every aspect that our clients will allow us to do. If we can get in early and try to solve their network problems, we want to do that. And that's a key to kind of getting ahead of their issues. And the sooner we can get involved when they book an event, the better it is for them, for their stakeholders, and their clients that are going to attend. Design installation, everything is customized, specialized to that particular event. So as you're learning in school, you're probably learning a lot about, just the fundamentals of network engineering, but imagine applying those in a temporary environment. And then that makes it that much more complex to find these solutions, deploy these solutions, manage them under time constraints that sometimes are unreasonable, but we pull it off. And as Yuri can attest, we are deploying networks and doing this, and we're only as good as our last job. If we failed Cisco, if we failed Google, Salesforce, even if we've had 100 events under our belt, if we failed them and it's our fault, we're only as good as our last job. So we have to be on our toes and sharp at every project that we do. Specialized services, this just goes inherent with what we do. Everything is specialized, but we can add layers to our network or what they're particularly looking to pull off, and we try to get ahead of that with our clients. A big thing for us, and it's actually evolving, and Yuri's been working closely on this too, is our event analytics. You got to think, if we're providing a network, there's a lot of traffic, a lot of highway that's being covered. Who's on that highway? What are they doing on that highway? And that's the user base. And our clients definitely want to know that information and understand and kind of understand what they're doing, what the patterns are, where they're going in the conference, what they're attending, what they're actually achieving, so that they can kind of get a snapshot of a heavy user, someone that's attending all of the events at their conference. A medium user, someone that's attending some, but they're going out in the lobby and mingling and talking with other folks attending. And then you got your light people that may just go to one or two things. So it's very interesting for them to understand who's attending their conference and what they're doing at that conference. So I'll go through some case studies real quickly here, and then we'll kind of get further into this. So the Open is an awesome one we've been doing for 11 or 12 years now. So imagine a golf course, right? Imagine, just these amazing large footprint outdoor events, and imagine deploying a network at every single hole for the media, for attendees, for concessions, for merchandising, for just a wide range of networks that are needed to pull off this event. And whereas when we first started, they didn't want phones or any of these things on their network, or actually on the premise. So now they completely changed their tune, because obviously in the last 10 years, these type of projects are requiring, and people want to interact with their events and talk on social media and show off what they're doing. So this event is really important to us. It's a year-long project, but it takes several months for us to roll this out, and Yuri's actually in the middle of that right now with our team. And it's amazing, because this is rolling out all that equipment, switches, access points, and doing a lot of cabling. And on top of that, it's important because it's out in the weather. So, it's getting rained on. It's getting struck by lightning. We've had equipment damaged by that. So it's extreme conditions, wind, rain, everything you can imagine. And this stuff has to work through the event. And you've got hundreds of thousands of people interacting on these networks. So it has to be durable and reliable in what we're doing. So there's some cool stuff. We won't go too far into these. You can check us out on our website. There's some cool videos that back up these case studies. So I think it's interesting for you guys to dig deeper if you'd like. Adobe Max, again, we talked about this one a little earlier. This one's important because, again, this is one of those clients that's heavy cloud. Imagine Adobe used to be a product that we all had on our desktops, and we had all our files, we had our photos, our videos, and we were storing them on our local devices. Now imagine just their whole business model has changed in the last 5-10 years, where it's cloud-based. So I upload a video, 4K, tens of thousands of photos. They're all in the cloud. If I want access to them at their conference, which a lot of their people and graphic designers and things that use their technology do, then you're going to need that robust network to be able to interact. So what we do, something like Adobe Max, and what we're doing at a lot of our big conferences, is we do a Keynote deployment. And at that keynote deployment, that's basically 15,000 people who are attending that event, who are heavy Adobe users, and they are interacting on their devices, and they're in that keynote taking notes. They're, sharing stuff on social media. So that's 15,000 people that are connected all at once in one small space. And as you know, that's pretty hard to do when you pull out your phone at a concert or a very dense environment with a lot of people. So how we do that, we actually use the truss that the lighting you see at concerts and these type of events is pretty cool and very specialized. So we'll fly in our access points and put those in the lighting truss to actually beam down on the audience below. And that gives the coverage that we need to make these networks work. Whereas a few years ago, we used to put the access points under someone's seat. And, the human body is 90% water. So the network signal was getting absorbed by the person's body. So that's not a good way to deploy a network. So we found a better way, which was to put the lighting and the gear above people's heads and secure that safely. And that was a better way to deploy a network. So that's some cool revolutionary stuff that we're doing. This one is where I met Yuri, and we'll get more into this one. I'll let him talk a little bit about it. But we did a cool NBA house at the Rio Olympics, and it was voted the #1 hospitality house. And we deployed a full network there to give an NBA experience for Cisco. And the cool thing about it was we connected it to a ship where all of the NBA players were, so they could interact and have an amazing network experience to connect with their families, connect with media. And then this NBA warehouse, it was almost like a nightclub for the NBA. There was slam dunk competitions going on. There's all types of interactive NBA products. PlayStation, Samsung had some virtual reality. And we provided the network for all of these things. And this is where, we first connected with the NetCAD program. So I'll come back to that here in a sec. Google Marketing Next. Again, this is just another keynote deployment that we did. But this one was particularly cool in 2017. We did it in a 110-year-old facility in San Francisco. We took over this old hotel and had to pretty much do a full venue takeover of their network to deploy an event just for Google that was for 5,000 people. So those are just some of the examples of what we do. And I want to get into how it connects to the program and how we connect with the Cisco NetCAD. So, that's pretty much what we do. But we do these projects all over the world. So if we're doing these projects all over the world, we need staff, we need people. And so what we do typically is we reach out through the Cisco programs, the matching engine, the alumni network, and basically make a call for students to participate in our projects. And so everyone on this call, if you're in a major market or somewhere that we're doing events, you have the possibility to work a straight up technology project. So what we'll typically do if we're in London or the Open, I'll use the Open as an example because we're doing that right now this summer. So what we typically do is we put a call for students to apply, and you don't have to have a lot of experience. You don't have to have years or certifications under your belt. We're really looking for people that are green and hungry. And I can tell you just from having a lot of great people go through our program, and this is important, so listen to this just as much as what you're learning in school. Your people skills and your soft skills will take you further in a company like us than just your technology skills and networking experience, because our company demands that you know them both and be able to speak with clients in non-network speak and very high level, and make it understanding to an audience. It could be your grandmother, and understanding how a network is deployed at that level. Just because some people aren't highly technical, but you have to explain it to them in ways that they can understand. So having soft skills and being able to approach a client, because a client will come up to one of our engineers and say, hey, what's going on with the network? And they have to be able to be cool and level-headed about what the problems are, what they're facing, and how they're going to solve it in a timely manner. So the people skills and how you interact with your teammates, all that stuff is just as mission critical to us as your engineering experience and what you bring to the table from what you're learning in school. So with these opportunities like the Open, we put a call out, and this year we're in Royal Portrush. And Royal Portrush is in Northern Ireland, and so that's a pretty remote location for the Open. It's very desolate. It's very far from different parts of Ireland. I think it's an hour and a half train ride from Belfast. So this network deployment is very difficult. It's very remote for most people to get to. So we put a call out, and we actually got several students from the Northern Ireland NetAcad program who have come in and helped us start the project. And just simply because there's a NetAcad program in the backyard of most locations we're going to, we just connect to those audiences. And then we're also connecting to a program in Dundee, Scotland, where we had some students that were first year last year, and now they're kind of NetAcad vets at the Open. So we've asked them to come back. So we have a total of 5 students working this amazing event for the Open. But then just imagine all of the projects that we've talked about in this conversation so far. We can bring NetAcad students too. And what I like about that is it gives the students an opportunity to get real-world experience, to build something on their resume, as well as, getting us an opportunity to go, hey, this guy's sharp, or this girl is amazing. Let's see if she would like to become a contractor and see if this is something that's a fit. Because, a lot of you guys probably haven't heard of these type of engineering opportunities. So some people really like it, some people don't. And you'll find out real quick when you're in the field on one of our projects if it's a match for you. And if it's not, that's cool. And so typically if we have some great outstanding students, then we kind of earmark them and go, wow, that guy was was awesome. Let's bring them back and let's bring them on as a contractor. And then if it goes better from there, then they become on more contracts and more projects, or they become full-time staff like my great colleague here, Yuri Vidal. So he became a full-time staffer a few months ago. Yuri was an amazing student that we met through the NBA house in Rio. We were actually assigned Yuri from Cisco, and I hadn't really connected fully to the program or made the connection that we were also we could use this program to better our company and actually hire students and bring them on and pick them from the tree. We've actually had some of our great engineers. Shabnam Saraf couldn't be on this call, but she's another one of our new engineers that we've hired through the program. But I want to really pass the ball to Yuri because he's actually, a flesh and blood network engineering student through the academy that became a full-time staffer from Brazil. And I think he's got some amazing probably experiences to tell you guys because I've done a lot of show and I'm going to let him tell you his experience. So Yuri, I'm going to introduce you and go ahead and take over the ball.
All right, guys. John, thank you for that. Thank you for having me here. Hope you can all hear me well. Let me just talk a little bit about my studies before I started working with Tradit Technologies. So I was in my last year in college. I was studying computer science. And I just realized that I did not want to be a programmer. And I started to looking into the other options I had as a computer scientist. And it was the perfect match because we were about to have the Rio Olympics, in Rio de Janeiro. That's where I come from. And Cisco had just opened several knowledge ships. They call it knowledge ships, where they were basically training engineers to work at the 2016 Rio Summer Olympics. So I decided to sign up for the CCNA, and I loved it. I had taken a couple of network courses in college, but it's nothing like the real world because you get a lot of theory and a lot of information that how networks were in the 80s or when they were first designed, but you don't actually get to learn how networks work nowadays. So I started at the network, the CCNA training at the knowledge ship, and 3 or 4 days before the Summer Olympics, I got this call from Cisco offering me to if I wanted to work at the NBA house. As a helper, as a network engineer graduate. So I went there and I met these amazing guys from Tradit Technologies. John Grindley was there. So was the lead engineer at the time, Rainier. He's the chief technology officer of the company. And I just worked with them for for the whole 2 weeks we were there. And on the very last day, John called me and he said, "Hey, we really liked working with you. We think you have a brilliant future. Do you want to come to the U.S. and work a couple of events with us?" I said, "Sure, yeah." So I had my passport at the time already, so I flew into San Diego and I started working for them as a contractor. We did Adobe 2017. On the same trip, I think we did a couple of Google events too.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, John.
Yeah, you were kind of on a little world tour yourself.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, this is what I want to do. You know, I love traveling. I hate sitting down in an office for the whole day. So this is exactly what I want to do. I want to set up temporary networks as a job. So I went back to Brazil and I kept doing this as a contractor a couple times back and forth from the U.S. and Brazil. And in 2017, in July 2017, they offered me to come to the UK for the Open, the British Open, the golfing event that John mentioned. And it was mind-blowing. I mean, it's a huge deployment. As John said, it's a whole year of setup. And the interesting thing is that the event changes. It goes to different golf course every year. So it's basically, it's literally set up from scratch every year. And it's a 170,000 people event. So, and the Wi-Fi just has to work. The network just has to work. So I met amazing people. The team at Straight Up, they have amazing engineers, CCIE guys that could just suck information out of them as much as I could. And it was amazing. And then a couple of months ago, I got this call from John again, and they offered me the a full-time job at the company at our UK office. And so here I am. Right now, I'm the lead network engineer at the London office for Straight Up. I've been working for the past 2 months in Northern Ireland, as John mentioned. We're setting up the network there for the Open. I just happen to be in Barcelona right now for 2 days for a site visit, as you mentioned. We also have to do a couple site visits before the events, maybe just to give the client an idea of what the deployment will need and what are the requirements for the event and for the successful network deployment. So, yep, that's a little my little story.
Yeah, exactly, Yuri. I mean, I think it's cool because it's an actual real-world scenario. We've been wanting to work with Yuri for a while, and we just didn't have the right scenario. And then it became clear that we could get him from Brazil to move to the UK and connect. And that's really what it's all about for us is we have global opportunities. And as we grow, it's amazing to have people like Yuri on our team that can speak several languages, that can travel, not just in the U.S., but on the European side. So he is really that engineer that's a conduit to making some of our international jobs possible. And so he's going to help open our London office. And it's just exciting to see where we're going. And calls like this really just connect us worldwide to students and to opportunities in all of your markets. So I see we've got people from Italy on the call. There's just amazing connections that are happening right on this call. So I'm happy to kind of open it up for questions if Jessel and Kara are, and I'm sure Yuri and I are just an open book to answer your questions. I think this is the best part of our call today. So I welcome anything you guys want to talk about.
You bet, John. And real quick before we open it up for questions, a brief reminder that I know some of you are submitting questions privately to me through the chat window, and that is 100% completely fine. I will definitely make sure that John and Yuri get your questions, but if you put them in the Q&A panel, Jessel can also see those, just so we make sure that I haven't missed any questions. It's just kind of an extra security blanket, so to speak, that we don't miss your question. So again, any questions, please submit to the Q&A panel. And also, Jessel, I believe you had a few slides to cover before we jumped into Q&A.
I did. So, John, could you pass the ball to me, please? And then we'll jump into the Q&A right after that.
Absolutely.
You got it, Jessel.
Let's see.
Thank you.
I think she has.
Yep, I see it. All right. So a lot of you have been asking, how do you go about getting a job with Tradit Technologies or accessing the opportunities that they have available to you? So we do have some stuff on the Talent Bridge matching engine for Tradit Technologies, as well as other featured employers that we have. So if you haven't yet registered for the Talent Bridge matching engine, we highly recommend that you do so, because then you can be synced with opportunities that you may not have considered before, or with companies that you might not have considered before. And it's really simple. We're going to go ahead and put the link in the chat window for you to go ahead and register, for those of you who haven't registered. And a lot of you have registered. I did see that, the questions that you guys have. So it's fantastic. Make sure you update your profile, have it fully flushed out, because if you don't put in all your details, then the algorithm can't really match you properly. So we can only do as good as you help us, you know. So make sure you go ahead and fill that information out for us, and we can see how we can match you to positions on the matching engine. And these are getting updated weekly, so just check back and see what comes up. One other thing, though, with Tradit Technologies is sometimes, like John has said, they're working on special projects. And he often, you know, contacts me and says, Daesil, can you post up something on our alumni network on LinkedIn so that I could get some resumes in for a project located in, you know, XYZ location. So if you want to get access to these types of job opportunities, make sure you're synced with us on LinkedIn. In general, it's really good to have a LinkedIn profile, because it helps you get noticed by employers. When they do a Google search about you, you have a professional resume that pops up. It's a really good place to be, to network with your peers, your instructors, and also with employers like John Grinley, who are looking for Medicaps to join their team. So go ahead and make sure that Networking Academy is part of your education. I put a couple steps up here on this slide, and you'll also get that as part of the presentation later on. And then when when John has more job opportunities coming up, you'll see them on LinkedIn. And let's see. Whoops, I went backwards. We're going forward. So now it's time for the question and answer portion of this. We will pass it on to Kara, and you can moderate and ask all the questions.
Awesome. So the first question, I believe, Daesil, you just covered, but John, if you want to add any other comments, if there's anywhere else you're looking for candidates, please let us know. But the first question was, how can I be proactive and try to work on one of your remote projects, or be on a list to be a part of a future project?
Yeah, no, that's a great first question. So I also want to add to Daesil and Kara's notes, you know, and I didn't get too far into this, but I want to do that now. We approach the market that we're going to. So let's say we have a job in Paris or you know, anywhere that we're going to have a major project. What I typically do, besides the LinkedIn and the Talent Bridge, is I also reach out through the Network Academy program to those markets. And I get a blast to those schools in Paris or wherever we're going. And typically what happens is those students that are proactive and sharp with their teachers and instructors, I get hopefully a wave of students that apply for that market. And from there, we kind of go through a screening process. We ask some questions and get the candidates, 5, 10 of them, depending on how many we need for the project. And we basically just I set up a WebEx with them and just get to know them better. And then I start to screen them, and then we actually hire them for that project. So sometimes it's a very focused approach to the market that we're actually doing the project. And so the way to be proactive is to have your resume updated, have your LinkedIn profile updated, be proactive with your instructor, be that student that stands out so that if we approach something in your market, that you're the first one that they think of. Like I said, soft skills and things like that are crucial. Being able to interact on these type of calls and getting to know somebody, like I said, is just as important as your technical skills. And so that's a major step for us, is just being proactive, being receptive, taking the calls, being efficient with your emails and communications, And that goes a long way. And then when we have those WebExes and conversations and you get on site, the way to really shine is be like a Yuri Vidal or a Shabnam Saraf, is just, work your tail off and just have a great attitude. Attitude will get you everywhere with us. Just being able to say yes to laying cable, to putting down a layer 1 installation, getting on your hands and knees and taping down, the Cat 5, Cat 6 cables just to a switch. That type of work is not above or below any one of our team. Our CEO will get down on the ground and do it. It's just part of what we do. We do everything that we need to do to get the job done. And so the students that can approach the work that way and be proactive are the ones that are going to shine. And again, on a project, if we have 1 or 2 of those students, they're going to get called back. They're going to become a contractor, and they're going to get more and more work. So as we grow our workforce, the NetiCAD is a crucial part of that. So the proof's in the pudding. We have a ton of contractors in our stable that are NetiCAD students, and they were only connected through the program, and that's how we made the connection for them to become contractors. So I hope I answered that question.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much. And we actually have one of our Dream Team members on the call, so a rock star is with us today. Barry has a great question, though. He said, networking jobs normally come with a requirement of a heavy amount of experience to be considered. What would you recommend to get this experience under the belt? Other than gaining a certificate, is there anything else that would make me attractive to employers? And Barry, I will start off by saying you're already on a great start to that by being a Dream Team winner. But John, would you like to take that question?
Yeah, absolutely. And Barry, I know him well because he worked with us last year and we handpicked him for the program. So Barry, I'm glad that you're on the call. Barry worked with us very closely, and we probably had him back if we had more budget to bring more of the students back from the Dundee program. I have to say that the Dundee program in Scotland was amazing. Last year it was our first time doing the Open with the NetiCAD program internationally. Up until that point, we had only done it in the U.S., so it was our first foray into Scotland, and their program was just amazing. And Barry and his team and all the students that were there were amazing. So I think it is, again, for us, it's identifying those sharp students, the ones that are not only technically proficient, but do have the great attitude and great work ethic. We haven't really talked about the work ethic, but just really jumping in there, being the first to say, hey, I want to learn, I want to get my hands dirty. That's just as important to us. And so it doesn't matter how green you are. As much as we want the certifications, the person's got to be able to back it up, because we know we can all know theory, but can we apply it in the field, and can we take what we've learned in the field and apply it to all the different situations? Having known Yuri for 3 years, I can tell you that he's a much sharper engineer from being thrown into the fire and having to figure stuff out, because he's worked actually independently on his own. He's worked on our teams on some large projects. So I can actually throw Yuri into most network environments, and he can not only swim, he can do the backstroke. So he's got the skills to handle an individual environment, problem solving on his own, or problem solving with his team. So I would just say that the more experience you can have on these type of events, the better. I'm not sure. I hear like a little whistle in some call here. Anyway. So,
yeah, I'm hearing that too. Sorry, I have no idea where it's coming from.
Yes, I mean, I think just to sharpen your skills, it's Barry's been great, like communicating, reaching out to me, saying, hey, what's the next opportunity? And I'm sure that, when we have more opportunities in the UK, Barry will be probably at the top of my list, because he's been communicative to us.
Yeah. Can I just add something to your answer, John?
Sure.
I also think it's a mistake to think that having a NetiCAD and having the CCNA does not count as experience. I mean, yeah. We graduate with a lot of experience, guys. So you can be sure that just by having the NetiCAD completion or even the certification, that counts a lot for the employees as an experience as well. And not only, I graduated, but I don't have any field experience, because we do get our hands dirty while we are in the academy. We do a lot of simulation. So, yeah, that totally counts as experience.
Yeah, and I guess that's to Yuri's point. That's a lot of it. Is we want to take your theory, we want to take your certifications, and give you real world experience. We're not expecting you necessarily to have it walking in, but if you can take the fundamentals of your network and your engineering background, it will apply in what we do. It's just maybe a different way of thinking, right, Yuri?
Yeah, exactly. Just
So
trying
cool.
to encourage that
Yep.
whoever is graduating, that be aware that you have a good starting point.
Yep, exactly. And the more equipment you can get your hands on, the more versatile you can be in voice over IP, and Wi-Fi, and network and switching, all the different telepresence, WebEx. If you can know the different areas of network and be more of a Swiss Army knife engineer, is really the ones that thrive in our market. So if you can kind of get your hands wet in all the different areas of engineering, that's absolutely key as well. But again, we're not expecting our students or someone that's being hired to know all that stuff, but you will be exposed to it. And the more you get exposed to it and the better you are in all those different areas, the more versatile you are for not only your career path, but for straight up technologies.
Thank you so much, John and Yuri. Those were wonderful points. And it's kind of funny, John, as you're answering the question that I'm giving you, it's almost like you know what the next question is going to be because you start touching upon what I'm about to ask you. But just so they don't think that I'm ignoring their question, I still want to call this question out. But their question was, does Straight Up seek any candidates for entry-level positions? They're currently working as an accountant, but they're acquiring their CCNA and Red Hat certs. So again, I feel like you just touched upon this, but could you do that again just briefly?
Yeah, you got me good on this one because that question, I got a bunch of points on that one. So we love people that it's a second career for them. We love people that are changing career paths because you've been in the workforce, just the world a little bit. So accounting, a lot of what we're doing is analytics and things like that. So some of that stuff will translate over to that. Like I said, we pick from the tree. We've done many a hire straight out of the NetAcad. We've actually hired students that haven't gotten their complete certs yet, and as they're kind of graduating or getting those certifications under their belt, they've been employed with us for a few months. So you're never too green, you're never too ripe to be a great candidate for Straight Up. You had my attention when you said Red Hat. I'm really interested in that as we kind of grow our security team and some of the career paths that some of our engineers are going on. I'm interested in that program. I'm also interested in the DevNet program. And so those are some categories that you got my attention right there. We don't have a ton of engineers that are experienced in that stuff. We do have our CTO and some of our folks are concerned about security and make sure that's a big element of what we're rolling out. But just being in the Red Hat program, you already kind of got my attention right there. So I think that's a great place to go. Anything in security. Anything where you're coding your way to solve problems. I know Yuri does this every day, write scripts to solve and send out to the switches to configure the network that we're trying to deploy. All those type of great talents are what makes the next generation of engineers important to what we do. I'm 43 years old, and I can tell you I can learn just as much from someone on this call as I can teach. So it's about really being able open to learning, and life learning, I think, is the key.
John, that was so awesome that you mentioned DevNet. I've had the opportunity to work with the DevNet team over the last few years. They're a great team, but I don't know if you know, but we recently, last week started promoting. We're adding new certifications to the Cisco portfolio, and DevNet ones are included. Cool. So again, you teed up another question. They asked. Looking at the recent update in Cisco certification, is it compulsory that I need to know programming like DevNet certifications?
You know what? I want to say yes, but I think Yuri can probably answer that question a little bit better since he's our engineer in the field. You want to field that one, Yuri?
Yeah, that's a hard question. That's a question we always get as network engineers, and I think it's probably going to be like that for a couple from here on. So. Compulsory, I don't think it's compulsory, but you definitely want to have some sort of programming skills. As we move on and on, we realize that network is getting more and more programmable. So yeah, well, I mean, we've been doing and using scripts that our engineers have written themselves, at least for at least 2 years already. So we don't do any sort of deployment without scripts anymore. But that's something you can, if you have the minimum knowledge in programming, you can work your way. I mean, we usually do Python script. Python is a very easy language to learn, and I definitely encourage, if you do not know anything about Python, start looking into it. But compulsory before you start a job, maybe not, but definitely looking forward, it's something you might want to start looking at, because we've been using it more and more.
Awesome. Thank you, Yuri. And actually, the next question is for you. They wanted to ask you, what is the most useful skill you learned from NetAcad?
That's a tough one. Let me think about it. Well, like specifically with the events that we do, definitely understanding the VLANs and how VLANs work. That was probably the skill I used the most in our events. Basically, because we don't do a lot of routing, it just doesn't make sense to do routing on events. We basically keep it all on the layer 2. And yeah, I would say understanding well how VLANs work is probably the skill that I used the most from my CCNA course.
Awesome. Thank you, Yuri. John, did you want to add something? I couldn't tell if you wanted to add something to that.
Yeah, I was just thinking, as we kind of get into this, the Wi-Fi network engineering is mission critical for what we're doing, because we're augmenting a lot of networks, and there'll be, portions of a venue that aren't strong in Wi-Fi, and obviously these people are traveling through a venue, and everything needs to be, as good as it can be. So, we do a lot of RF analysis and trying to do heat mapping to understand where the audience is going to be, where they're going to be seated, what the traffic flow of the network is. And so that's becoming more mission critical to us, is to deploy to a heat map. So we'll go in and get a CAD drawing of a venue and understand where the network is going to be placed. And if we do our analysis on the front and our calculations properly, that Wi-Fi deployment is put that there, and then it's a lot of fine tuning on site. I'm oversimplifying it, but really it's incredible to see how the project management prior to arriving on site, if it's done properly, you just really follow that to a T, and you can execute some amazing Wi-Fi coverage. So that's becoming a major part of what we're doing, and augmenting networks, because as we grow in the last 5 years especially, we've been at some conferences that have blown us away, and they're not even technology conferences. We did a conference for Rodan and Fields, and Rodan and Fields is pretty much a skincare and makeup company, and it's amazing that the women and the people that sell for them use Facebook Live. And we taxed this network in New Orleans this past fall, and it was amazing because they took every bit of bandwidth we could give them, and it was all Wi-Fi, and they did it. It was amazing. So
yeah, the reason I didn't mention the Wi-Fi is because I'm assuming most of the NetAcads here are going through the routing and switching course, and I don't think we see a lot of Wi-Fi on routing and switching unless it's changed. But understanding how the Wi-Fi solutions work, and the different technologies behind it, and how to optimize a Wi-Fi network, it's definitely something that you want to look into. So.
Yep.
So, John, the next question is going to be for you, and it's kind of a combination of 3 different questions. So there's some students on the call that would like to know if you can talk about any opportunities that might have happened in the areas that they live in, or they're just interested in working with you, but they are living in Italy, Winnipeg, Canada, and Jacksonville, Florida. And the young lady from Jacksonville, Florida did say that she is willing to relocate.
Okay, that's awesome, and that's a great point. We've actually had some Medicad students travel. So typically, like Jacksonville, Florida, depending on how close that is to something we've done in Florida. We've done events in Orlando. Obviously, that's a major hub for events. People do a lot of. We've done a ServiceNow. We've done Adobe. Several different projects in Orlando. So that's a hotbed in Florida for us. But I mean, we have, again, a lot of our constraints and a lot of the reasons we use the program is not only to get experience, but to get local talent that we may not have to put up in a hotel, that it doesn't have to travel too far. So, under certain circumstances, we have allowed students to come in and work, as they can. We don't really want to have to put them up in a hotel, but we will, depending on the environment. In New Orleans, the closest school, believe it or not, was Lafayette, which was an hour and a half away. And I worked with my team, and we put them up in an Airbnb to make it work. So depending on the environment and the situation, we can accommodate students from different places. Where else did you say? You said Italy. Italy is definitely a market that we'll do some stuff in. We've got some clients that are, growing. Obviously, Yuri's in Barcelona, Spain today. So we really just go where the projects take us. And I just do feel as we grow, and we have been growing exponentially, the markets that we'll go to, Italy's not far out of the purview for what we're doing. So I think that's just got to be the right project. It's got to be the right timing, and we can make something happen in your market.
Awesome. Thank you, John. And so we're going to take a few more questions. I know we are getting down to the end of the hour. Let's see. John, I know we might have touched on this. I cannot remember during the first question. But are there any standard certifications that they need to work for you?
I think it's the initial certifications and, the CCNA, would you say your CCNP, CCENT, what else would you recommend?
Well, if this is a recommendation or
yeah.
I don't understand if this is a recommendation.
What would you recommend to be most applicable when you show up on site if you had under your belt? I guess what their question is.
Okay. Yeah, the CCNA routing and switching is definitely the basic where everybody should start, but definitely look into the CCNA collaboration because we do a lot of product placement and we do a lot of jobs that have phones. We're deploying over 300 IP phones and telepresence units on the open. So, the CCNA collaboration and the wireless too. I also got my certification on the cybersecurity CCNA. That was pretty awesome. So I definitely recommend looking into the CCNA cybersecurity. But I don't think any of these are a requirement to work at Straight Up. As John said, the attitude and being part of the NATACAD program is more than half of it. So.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you. Real quickly, so Yuri, another question was asked for you. The student wanted to know, how do we bring up our experiences in NetAcad on our resumes or on LinkedIn? Did you specifically call NetAcad out?
I mentioned I put on LinkedIn. Let me see how I added that. I added the certification to it, and I put it as a comment, being the NetAcad. But now that you mentioned it, I actually think I should put it as an alumni, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I know that you made. I was going to say, I know you made Daesil smile when you said that you added your certifications to your LinkedIn because she is constantly telling our students, add your certifications to LinkedIn.
Yeah. No, but it definitely counts to have that little word there, Cisco NATACAD. It definitely counts, and I'm sure John looks into that when he's looking into the resumes. That's the first thing that he's looking for. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And one last thing too, just to give you guys another another thing to think about too is when you do work with us and you do an amazing job, I do write letters of recommendation, which I hope that someone can use to further their career path. If someone worked their tail off for us and they didn't have a lot of experience in the field, I think that letter and obviously adding that to their resume is a great start, even if it's a small project. But to say that you just fresh out of the program and you've worked Adobe Max or with some type of program for Cisco or Google, I think you'll see that that'll take you further if you have that on your resume. And we encourage students that have worked with us to put that type of stuff on there so that even if it's not just with us, that they can further their career path with wherever they're headed.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John and Yuri. And Daesil, did you have anything you wanted to add with that since it was the LinkedIn and resume piece?
Mainly, just make sure you add it to your education section that you are part of Cisco Networking Academy. You never know if you're going to meet a NetAcad alum along the way. Like, say Yuri's out there screening candidates and he sees that you have NetAcad on your education profile. Well, hey, it might just influence his perception of you, right? Because he recognizes you, recognizes that institution and what we are capable of, having our students know. So just, you have the education, you might as well use it to your advantage and make it work for you as you're trying to get into the workplace.
Perfect. So thank you so much, John and Yuri. Y'all answered a lot of questions, so thank you again. And I believe that every question has been answered. I'm going to check my private chat one more time, but I believe everything has been answered. So a huge thank you to John for joining today and giving us a wonderful presentation and overview of Tradit Technologies. Thank you so much, Yuri, for joining to share your experiences. I know the students always love hearing from former NetAcads who are in jobs today. So thank you both so much. Again, we will be, promoting this on our social media channels. It will be in the July student newsletter that will go out at the end of July. Again, the link to find the recording in the slide deck is also in the chat window. But a lot has been going on in the chat, so I will go ahead and resubmit it at the bottom so it's easy for you to find and grab. Just one more thing that I wanted to say before we ended. This was my last webinar to host. I know I've been doing this for about 6 years now, so I just wanted to make an announcement. I know a lot of you on the call are used to getting a monthly mailer from me that lists all of the webinars. So I just wanted to do a quick explanation as to why you will no longer be getting those emails. But in all things, you grow and you get new projects. So I am actually going on to a new project, but that does not mean that webinars will necessarily go away. So please keep checking the student newsletter and the news events on netacad.com, and keep your eye out for other webinars that other teams might be doing, and hopefully maybe there'll be some regional events as well, because I know some of you have asked for sessions in Spanish and French in the past. If you are signed up to that webinar mailer that I was speaking about, the June email will have been my last email about webinars, but I will also be emailing all of y'all just kind of a follow-up letter with some recommendations I have of other webinars that are on demand. If you are one of the ones that have joined a lot of the sessions, it was wonderful getting to know everybody, and I hope we stay in touch. A huge, huge, huge thank you to Daesil on the call. She has been such support throughout the webinar process, and if it wasn't for her, we would not have these wonderful career webinars. And again, thank you so much, John. We really appreciate you joining, and I hope that you get a lot of students that come with you with questions and a lot of interest in Tradit Technologies. So with that, you were wonderful to work with, so thank you. And with that, I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your morning and afternoon, and we will talk to everyone soon. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thanks, Kara. You've been amazing.
Thanks, Daesil. Bye, John. Bye, Yuri.
Bye, John. Bye, Yuri.